At first for UTEP, Jaquez Streeter, Jalen Ragland, and Julian Washburn. Those three in the backcourt. And then Cedric Lang and Chris Washburn will get the start instead of John Bohannon. Meanwhile, for Lon Kruger and the Oklahoma Sooners, pair of freshmen are going to start in the backcourt for the Sooners. And those two will be Jalon Hornbeak and Isaiah Cousins, joined by sharpshooter Stephen Pledger. Up front, Amat Mbai and Romero Osby is a great rebounder. And we are underway as Cousins will handle the freshman out of Mount Vernon, New York.
One thing you want to watch with Tim Floyd's teams, they'll change it up, they'll junk it up. Don't be surprised to see a little triangle and two on these two freshmen.
Pledger catch and shoot. And a rebound there and a fight for that loose ball. And they get a foul on UTEP.
Well, those names sound familiar. Chris Washburn and of course his brother Julian Washburn. They are the sons of former NBA first-round pick, #3 pick in the draft, Chris Washburn.
And that last foul on Chris Washburn, flying in Julian Washburn for the rebound.
Oklahoma is going to be primarily a man-to-man team, John. They got 10 players that play. They can take this pressure and move it to full court.
Washburn spinning inside, goes left hand. Out of bounds, Oklahoma ball. This Oklahoma team, it's interesting, Fran, 5 starters back, but actually not all 5 are starting this year.
Well, that's exactly right. Lon Kruger's brought 3 freshmen into this mix that are all playing, plus the Wyoming transfer, Amat Mbai, who had a fairly good sophomore year at Wyoming before transferring. This is a deeper team, John.
And again, Lon Kruger building the program. Feed inside. Osby flips it up, and it's good.
Osby's a guy that's the leading returning rebounder in the Big 12. Remember, he transferred 2 years ago from Mississippi State, and he got his feet wet last year with Lon Kruger.
Lang gives off to Streeter.
UTEP's weakness, John, is they struggle to score. They'll play solid defense, but they need to find some offense.
Lang's pass for Washburn deflected. 10 on the shot clock. Chris Washburn loses the handle, and it's taken away. Osby up ahead. Cousins. Good feed underneath, and the throw down there by Romero Osby, and a timeout called by Tim Floyd.
Well, Tim Floyd's got a very young basketball team, so he does not want this game to get away from him. Hence,
with too much.
Well, I think they're certainly not overloading him in terms of strategy, but when you play this schedule, you're going to find out quickly what your weaknesses are. There's a little double team by Oklahoma. Remember, they'll extend the floor because of their depth.
Pass deflected again. Oklahoma's been very active defensively.
Lon Kruger did not have this kind of depth last year. They were in many close games that they could not finish in the Big 12.
Catch and shoot on the baseline. Washburn wouldn't go. And they get a foul over the back. And that one will be on Cedric Lang, his first.
Keep in mind, John Bohannon, probably the most experienced inside player for UTEP, not starting. You'll see Cedric Lang come over the top. Easy foul call, but Bohannon, no points, 1 rebound at Arizona. So Tim Floyd sending the junior a message by bringing him off the bench.
Mbai kicks out. And there's Mbai offensive rebound and the putback. Mbai and Osby are both good on the offensive glass.
Absolutely. We watched Oklahoma last year, John. You remember they talked about Amat Mbai, how good he was in practice. And he's been off to a slow start in the first 2 games, but very talented player, very athletic.
Deflected out of bounds. It stays with UTEP.
You know, it's interesting. You see Cousins and Hornbeak out there. You'll see Buddy Hield soon, their leading scorer, another freshman. All 3 of those guys, not really top 50 guys, probably top 75 to top 150 high school players, but all are going to be outstanding Oklahoma Sooners. Very similar to what Lon Kruger did at UNLV.
Julian Washburn way off the mark. Pledger pushing up. Cousins buries a 2.
Cousins, a young man from Mount Vernon High School in New York, where he played for Bob Cimino. Of course, it's the school that produced Ben Gordon, Danny Jones from West Virginia last year, the McCray brothers. And Lou Hill, assistant coach at Oklahoma, former Wichita State great.
Ragland missing and Cousins pushing ahead. Pledger can't leave him that open. A triple, and Oklahoma pitching a shutout, leading early 11-0.
Well, we talked about UTEP's inability to score easily, and you've seen that manifest itself early in this game.
And again, the hands. Jelon Hornby pulls up and hits. It is all Oklahoma early.
Hornby, another one of those freshmen that we talked about, young man out of Arlington, Texas. Hey, Oklahoma had a barn burner last week in a game at UTA. Took them to the wire. The Mavericks have a very good team under Scott Cross.
Hornby hustling, getting after it. Oklahoma building this lead because of some ferocious defense. They go to the possession arrow, and it'll belong to UTEP. Time out on the court, and the Sooners all over the Miners early on.
Second round. UNLV, obviously. Dave Rice has really done a nice job of building on what Lon started. And he's back here in the Midwest, not far from his hometown of Spring Lake, Kansas, where he was a tremendous athlete. That's a pretty good coaching resume. And quietly, I think. You know, he's not one of those guys that gets a lot of attention. I think he likes it that way.
Literally and figuratively. Yeah. He's not a loud type of guy. He's got certainly got presence about him, though.
Absolutely.
You mentioned Buddy Hield, the outstanding freshman from the Bahamas. He's checked into the game, wearing number 3 for Oklahoma. 1 on the shot clock. They didn't see it, and that one launched and off the mark by C.J. Cooper, who had just checked in. Mbaye got it.
Well, that's what we talked about. Ahmad Mbaye, the young man from France. Prep school at Stone Ridge in L.A., Wyoming. Good pressure by Oklahoma, John. You can see you play 8, 9, 10 guys. You can wear teams out, and they've done that early.
Oh, that one just ended up deflecting to Cedric Lang in the first 2 of the game for the Miners. Into the game as well for Oklahoma, Sam Grooms, as he swings it left side. Hield. And a rebound pulled down there by Julian Washburn.
Right now, Oklahoma pressuring UTEP, and it's basically been a lot of one-on-one. Little pick and roll, but everything's become isolation basketball.
Weaving into the paint, not able to hit right there was Julian Washburn. Hield had that knocked away. And Chris Washburn up ahead. Speeding to the rim, had it knocked out of his hands. Oklahoma back the other way. Sooners have been on the move a lot so far in this game. Mbaye missing, but the rebound for Fitzgerald. And a foul on UTEP. Well, Ahmad Mbaye, the transfer, he started his career at Wyoming, and last year there averaged 12 and 5.7.
Yeah, and he's still a late bloomer, John. He's a guy that was ineligible because of NCAA rules for much of his Wyoming career. Came on late in his sophomore year. He transferred to Oklahoma because he was very familiar with Lon Kruger from the Mountain West days and the competition between Wyoming and UNLV. A solid young man on his way to graduate, and very, very good addition as Lon Kruger continues to build this program.
Gives them some athleticism for sure as Hield finds Fitzgerald. Now that one tracked down there by Malcolm Moore, who was checked into the game.
Buddy Hield's got to be a little bit careful right now. He's going to get a steal, and he's going to score in front of his mom and family that are here. He's from the Bahamas. He's got everybody in his family here virtually.
Yeah, he's got his 2 brothers, 3 sisters here.
Did you see the pressure?
Yeah, the pressure has been a huge factor so far in this one. John Bohannon in the game for the first time for UTEP, but a good putback there by Malcolm Moore. 17-4 here in the early going. Sooners lead it. Fitzgerald
Fitzgerald's missed twice from that spot. He's usually a very reliable mid-range jump shooter. Right now, if you're Tim Floyd, you just want to climb back into this game. You've got to generate some offense right now. And they really don't have a breakdown guy other than Julian Washburn.
Ragland missing, flying in. Washburn the rebound. That one tied up. It belongs to Oklahoma. 12:14 to go here in the first half. John Shambi, Fran Fraschilla, first of two here tonight. Already West Virginia and Davidson have advanced to a semifinal. That'll be tomorrow. The winner of this one will take on the winner of our late game, Gonzaga and Clemson. We talk about UTEP being young. Well, Clemson is a really young team.
Absolutely. Brad Brownell is building that program as well.
Grooms the floater, and that will go plus the foul.
See, this is what Lon Kruger has this year. Sam Groom started every game of his junior year, the former junior college All-American. Great assist-to-turnover ratio, perfectly executed right there in terms of shooting that ball out the window. Now you say, was he there, John? The thing that officials will officiate on the block charge this year is once the player starts the upward motion, they're not going to allow a defender to get illegal, and there was a good example of that right there.
Rebound ripped down by Bohannon. 15-point Sooner lead. 7 different players have scored for Oklahoma. And Julian Washburn hits. I want to ask you about block charge. Do you think at times that semicircle was a problem for the refs looking down but not checking to see if guys were set?
Well, that was absolutely the problem last year. This year they want the official to referee the defender. Really make sure there's a obvious call right there. But yeah, get that block charge under control. They're doing a better job. Hey, take a look now. He's already in the air. Now the defender slides in. They're not going to let you get that away. They beat Chaminade. Hey, NC State now, they've got to bounce back. They're going to play a very difficult Michigan team, obviously, at Chrysler Arena.
It's a Michigan team that, in terms of possessions, was one of the slowest, actually the slowest in the Big Ten last year. They can score this year. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch as Fitzgerald weaves inside, gets fouled, and he will shoot 2.
Now, you mentioned Fitzgerald. We've talked about Grooms. Now Cameron Clark is in the game. He's been a starter for much of his career. All 3 of those guys come off the bench for Oklahoma. I felt before the season, John, that Oklahoma State and Oklahoma were going to be surprise teams in the Big 12, and certainly Marcus Smart and that crew you saw in Puerto Rico did nothing to dissuade me from the Cowboys potentially making a run towards the top of the Big 12.
Marcus Smart was amazing, MVP of that tournament in Puerto Rico. And they shut down an NC State team that's got a lot of weapons. Fitzgerald inside, flips it in. Andrew Fitzgerald started all 31 last year and comes off the bench this season.
I hate to call a guy a below-the-rim post player because it sounds like it's not a compliment, but he does his work below the rim effectively.
Good look inside and one. Bohannon cutting in. And let's double-check. Carl Hess is going to talk with Mike Eads.
See if they got that foul on the floor or in the act. I think he was in the act.
Nope, they're going to say on the floor.
Say on the floor, okay.
And it'll be 1 and 1. No, out of bounds, I beg your pardon.
John
will be on Cousins.
John Bohannon averaged 11.5 points a game last year as a sophomore, and they really need his offense.
Inside, trying to flip it up. Malcolm Moore, he'll shoot 2. Now, Fran, nowadays, the guys on the benches, they're charting everything. The one thing that Lon Kruger is going to look at, deflections here in the first half, he's going to like the number.
Yeah, that's exactly right, John. You know, when I was coaching, you see the coaching staff right there, Mike Shepard, and right to the left of Lon Kruger, Steve Henson was a great player at Kansas State in the mid-'80s, and Steve, now a member of the staff, he played in the NBA. Steve was on that team in 1988 that took Danny and the Miracles to the Elite 8, right down to the wire in Pontiac, Michigan. But you're right, getting back to the deflections, I always felt like we were looking for 45 to 50 deflections a game.
Wow.
From our team. And you know what? They're not always cause for steals, as you see Steve Henson, outstanding Kansas State guard in his day. But if you don't get a steal, it's okay. It's disrupting to the offense. Takes your offense out of their rhythm, whether the ball's knocked out of bounds or you have to recover it at midcourt.
Again, it's a UTEP team that is going to start. The anchor is going to be its defense. And they go offensive foul inside. And that one is going to be on Cameron Clark. But, Fran, if you're struggling offensively, at times it makes it difficult to set up the defense and lock in what you want to do defensively.
Absolutely. They go hand in hand. And, you know, when you're not scoring, it really, your defense suffers. Because I just think that there's a mental approach, you know, to playing both ends of the floor. You see how athletic Buddy Hield is as he continues to jockey C.J. Cooper. But I think Bohannon is the key for UTEP. And there's an example. They've got to look for him on those cuts. There he is.
Oh, very athletic move, Bohannon. And a nice feed there by Washburn.
Jim Floyd sent him a message not starting him today after that donut against Arizona.
Cameron Clark rattles that one home. Cameron Clark, pretty big recruit that Jeff Capel signed.
He sure was. And I'll tell you, you know what? He's improved in a lot of areas. And now he becomes very valuable as a 6th or 7th man. Oh, that's nice. See, that's great basketball. What they've done, John, is they've taken the trapping of Oklahoma in that pick and roll, and they've turned it into offense by flashing at the elbow and creating a press offense.
And they go offensive foul underneath.
Take a look now. They've got the ball out of the trap, which means it's 4-on-3, blue versus white. And that's something they worked on at practice yesterday. I always felt if you were going to trap me, then I needed a way to come back and score on you. And there's another example. They got the ball out of the trap. They created numbers at the rim and took advantage of the pressure of Oklahoma out on the floor.
Chris Washburn's made a couple of good passes.
You know, he's a very talented young guy. He's lost about 25 pounds. He can only go about 4 minutes at a time in terms of his conditioning.
Cooper not able to hit off the feed from Bohannon, and now Clark pushing. Hornbeak will try, and rattles it in.
I watched Oklahoma play at UTA last Friday night. They were down 19-9. They were up 46-30. And then UTA tied the game with about 2 minutes to go. So when you have a team like Oklahoma playing this many young guys, you're going to have moments in the game where they're going to be up and down.
Good hands there as Mbai knocks it out of bounds. In that win over UTA, Buddy Hield came off the bench at 17.
And you know what? I think they were they might have been all in the first half.
Sooners very balanced. 9 different guys already in the box with points. And again, it's been the defense for Oklahoma that has started the offense. Sooners lead 27-12. Here on Thanksgiving. 3rd of 4 matchups here from HP Fieldhouse. They get that foul on Jalon Hornbeak, the freshman, his first.
Mentioned Hornbeak, a young man from Arlington, Texas, so he was home last Friday night. I've said this before, John, both of these teams have young men from Dallas. Right now, Dallas-Fort Worth is one of the best high school hotbeds in America. It's unbelievable. Matt Jones will join Duke next year.
Ragland buries that 3.
UTEP's doing a nice job of trying to stay in this ball game. A sweet move by Osby.
Use the rim to seal things off.
Question.
Osby with 6. And it's Oklahoma by 14. Streeter. And it gives off. It's Julian Washburn, the sophomore. Gives off to his brother. Chris launches. And Again, Osby, the leading returning rebounder in the Big 12. Bohannon the board. And the Bigs leading the break. Oh, nicely done. Score the bucket. And Chris Washburn will go to the line. Big to big. Chris Washburn, Julian Washburn leading.
Family they have right now. And it's kind of a great story, John, because they play with enthusiasm. I watched them in high school, and they're not ready-made players right now. But with Bohannon and these two guys, they got some other guys joining the program. Jordan Hamilton's little brother, Isaac, a top 30 player on the ESPN News rankings, will join them next year. The program is in great shape, but you got the two brothers who really are nice building blocks inside.
Now, Julian, an outstanding defender, besides being able to help them out offensively. Feed inside, Mbai, and he traveled.
And I told you during the break that I think Oklahoma is one of those teams that, because they are still trying to find themselves, are going to play 5 minutes at a time of really good basketball, and then they're gonna let UTEP back into this game if they continue to play this sloppy on the offensive end, which they have the last 5-6 minutes.
Well, again, for Oklahoma, the offensive production wasn't so much offensive sets as it was getting steals, deflections, and then getting easy baskets.
That's a great point, and I want you to watch if UTEP continues to run pick and roll to see how aggressive Oklahoma is, because UTEP has turned that into really good offense by treating it almost like a press offense and taking advantage of numbers at the back end of that press.
Three dropped in there. Jaquez Streeter buries it, the senior from Los Angeles.
He's a young man with a lot of playing experience. Now they're in a triangle and two. We talked about at the top, Tim Floyd likes to make teams play left-handed. The triangle's on Heald, and it's on Pledger in the corners. So let's see if Oklahoma can play three-man basketball inside right now. They've got a guard and two bigs.
Mbai not able to hit. Loose ball. Mbai the board. Taken away there by Streeter. Little Euro step and one. Jaquez Streeter will go to the line and try and complete a three-point play.
I'm going to be very interested now, John, to see how long Tim Floyd stays in that triangle. Now, there's the opportunity for Streeter. The little Euro step by the freshman Hornbeak, finish at the rim, and all of a sudden, we've got a ball game.
Jaquez Streeter, transfer from Cal State Fullerton. One of the things that will be interesting, he's their point guard, but Mackenzie Moore, a transfer, will be eligible second semester, and we'll see about those two playing together. All right, earlier today it was West Virginia all over Marist, and Davidson got a big game from Damon Brooks, so that's our first semifinal that is set for tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern on ESPN. Winner of this one will take on the winner of our nightcap between Gonzaga and Clemson.
There's the triangle now. It's just basically a three-man motion offense by Oklahoma. See if they can get to the rim.
Osby able to put that one in.
See, when you're playing against a triangle and two, John, your two philosophical questions are, do you try to get your guards open that are being played man-to-man, or do you just play three-man basketball inside? Right now, Oklahoma is 1 for 2.
Streeter lost it and it went off his leg. Oklahoma basketball.
Tim Floyd, yep, he's signaling triangle and two again.
How much did you play it?
Very little, and that's why it's a good defense, because over the course of a college season, teams will see this defense less than 1% of the time, so you don't work on it. Now, you know when you play Tim Floyd's teams, you better work on it. And there it is again. You see 3-on-3 inside.
Osby now gets another. Osby has 10.
Okay, now you see Oklahoma's had a plan for this. So they're 2 for 3 right now. So Tim Floyd's thought process is now, do I stay in this and play 3-on-3 inside, or do we go back and do we change it to a different defense? There's that flash again, and Mbai read it.
And they get Mbai with the travel.
I'm not sure that he traveled. I think he just, that's an unorthodox play by an international guy. Brian O'Connell signal to travel. It looked unorthodox. Let's take it, see if we can get a look at this now. 1, 2. I think that's okay. It just looked funny.
And by the preseason Big 12 newcomer of the year, again, the transfer from Wyoming.
I'll tell you what, young man Will Clyburn at Iowa State will have something to say about that, the transfer from Utah.
Chris Washburn rebound, ball fake, and he'll shoot 2.
And Chris Washburn's got a baby face, you know, and he does look like his dad.
Chris Washburn getting a chance to start. John Bohannon, the junior, who was their leading scorer and rebounder last year, but struggled last game against Arizona, held scoreless. So the freshman gets a chance to be in the starting lineup.
And they were crushed on the boards in that game out in Tucson against Sean Miller's club, who's got some outstanding young big guys.
Washburn can't hit. Rebound by Osby.
Big stretch for Oklahoma right now. They've had a sizable double-digit lead. There's now, let's see, we got a box. Now we got a box and one on Pledger. Oh, and they still threw the ball to him. Tim Floyd tries to make teams play left-handed, play opposite of the way their strengths are.
Pledger being harassed by Cooper. Osby's shot wouldn't go. Mbai loses it out of bounds. Timeout on the court. UTEP basketball when we come back. Sooners lead by 8.
It's a top 20.
Leo Davis wasn't too bad. In fact, they just helped him land a recruit because, you know, Isaac Hamilton, the young man we talked about out of L.A. Crenshaw, he has family that, you know, connected to Tim Floyd going back to the 80s. Uncle Kevin was a 4-year starter during some of those great teams.
So again, the 80s so good for the Miners, and now Tim Floyd trying to push things in the right direction in his second year.
You know what would really help them? I know this is crazy with all the realignment going on. UTEP should be in the Mountain West. They should be playing New Mexico every year, and all those teams in the Mountain West, a great tradition.
Pass just off the hands of John Bohannon, and 7th turnover on Tim Floyd's team. UTEP down by 8.
Let's see what we got. We know we got another junk defense. So now they're back to the box and one on Pledger. So now the key, if you're Oklahoma, is can you effectively play 4 versus 4? And this guy can, because this young man, Buddy Hield, can put the ball in the basket. There was no hesitation on that jump shot.
Yeah, he's not shy.
I love him. I've watched him practice this year. He plays with great energy, always looking to improve. I think they got a diamond in the rough.
Cooper gives off to Julian Washburn. And now Chris working on Neal. Rebound pulled down by Osby. That's his 4th. And Grooms will set it up. Sam Grooms ran the point for him last year. 6 assists a game. Not a great shooter. Flips that one up. And they'll say offensive foul as Chris Washburn steps in to draw the charge.
Good adjudication of that circle. Let's see if he released the ball, John, before contact. See, I don't understand this. Somebody's got to explain this to me. I've watched a lot of basketball this year. Some officials are counting that goal, and there's an example of the ball being released, contact made, no basket. So that's one that I'm not really sure about. I'll ask those guys at halftime, but traditionally the last few years they don't count that basket once there's contact, even after the release. But I've seen that early in the year called a number of times.
Lang
nice.
inside. Oh, shot blocked there by Osby. Out of bounds, UTEP basketball.
Osby, the quick jumper off his feet. Lang's a young man who does a lot of dirty work. Young man out of South Dakota. There's a foul on Pledger.
Pledger tripping up Chris Washburn. And that is going to be foul number 10 on Oklahoma, so Washburn will shoot 2. Yeah, beg your pardon. Julian Washburn.
It looks like they had that foul on the floor as well, John. So, although if they're at 10, it'll be 2 shots anyway, double bonus.
Well, now they're signaling 1 and 1. It should be 2.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, it's 10 fouls. I don't think they realized that Oklahoma got to 10 as quickly as they did.
So the sophomore Julian Washburn at the line. Now, one of the great UTEP minors, Tim Hardaway, his son, Tim Hardaway Jr., will lead number 4 Michigan against Kansas State, the NIT season tip-off championship game. And that'll be tomorrow at 4:30 Eastern on ESPN from the world's most famous arena.
Remember Tim Hardaway Jr. telling Mark Jones and I last year when we did a game in Michigan at Virginia. Mark said, "Is your son coming out this year?" He goes, "Hell no, he can't dribble." And he was really pegged as a jump shooter early in his Michigan career, and boy, has he improved. He got to the rim last night a number of times. You'll love to see players who are good players now continue to work on things that they can get better at, and Tim Jr. has certainly done that. Trey Burke was pretty good last night too.
No doubt. And Fitzgerald able to bury that one under 90 seconds to go here in the first half, at Oklahoma by a dozen.
If you're UTEP right now, psychologically, you'd love to get it down to 10 or 9 and go into that locker room, because Oklahoma has really dominated much of this first half.
Fadeaway wouldn't go. They get Lang over the back. And that'll be the second on Lang's 17 foul. So 1 and 1. You see Lang with that shoulder harness, injured that left shoulder against Arizona. So to be not especially significant, but
I'll tell you what is significant is he played the last 16 games of his freshman year with a stress fracture. And actually, UTEP played pretty good basketball. He's one of those kids, he's a grinder, a banger, a Scalabrini type. Well, Scalabrini was a really good offensive player at USC.
Yep.
That's an unforced turnover right there by Bohannon.
Out of the reach of Tamon Howard. Under a minute to go here. Sooners by a dozen. Early struggles offensively for UTEP. A lot of the story, and Oklahoma played some great defense early on. Cameron Clark eventually comes away with the loose ball. Fitzgerald. And flying in for the board, Jaquez Streeter. Howard, shot blocked by Fitzgerald.
Need to get it out and get it to a guard.
Moore loses it out of bounds. That's a tough spot right there, because now Oklahoma is going to hold for the last shot, and they'll be up likely at least a dozen.
That's why you want to get it back out and get that last possession of the half, John, even if you're down 12. You can't afford for Oklahoma to stretch this lead out anymore. That's just a freshman mistake.
Go, buddy.
And the reverse wouldn't go there by Fitzgerald. That is the way the first half will end. Oklahoma by a dozen, and the Sooners used the defense, turned it into offense, shot 57% in the first half. Rebound. So it's the Sooners by a dozen. Miners with the basketball. And Jaquez Streeter handling right here with the freshman Isaiah Cousins on him. Julian Washburn now. Hornbeak on him.
These two guys know each other from Dallas.
Cousins stepping in, and they get the foul there on Bohannon.
See, on that possession, Oklahoma with a lot of evenly sized guys able to switch out on those ball screens. Cousins trying to start that break. This young man was a late signee. I mentioned Mount Vernon High School, one of the great high school programs in New York State.
Money earning Mount Vernon. How do you not? I can't believe you, as the old guy in this twosome, didn't mention the Williams brothers.
Oh no, Gus and Ray, the McRaes. Hey, I go. You know, you got to know who your audience is. you mentioned Gus and Ray Williams. That's ancient history, man.
Fair enough.
And I can throw those guys out there too. Rodney and Scooter McRae.
I thought you were going to go with the Williams brothers, and I was going to go Ben Gordon.
How about Earl Tatum, who played for Al McGuire at Marquette?
And right there, Osby is fouled. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. Just getting started second half here on Thanksgiving. The winner of this one will play Gonzaga, and Clemson the winner of that one. And that'll be your second semifinal. Already one semifinal is set, as it will be Davidson and West Virginia tomorrow. Osby with 11.
This young man, Ro Osby, escaped all that craziness at Mississippi State with Bernardo Sidney. Of course, Arnett Moultrie transferred also from UTEP to Mississippi State. And so he didn't feel he was going to get the playing time, but he's been a nice piece of Lon Kruger's puzzle his 2 years in Norman.
I was actually at the Diamond Head Classic. It just finished working, and I was in the arena when that fight broke out.
Crazy.
Bernardo Sidney and his teammate in the stands. Streeter,
I like this.
Nice look, finds Bohannon, who banks it in.
See, here's what you like about that. Streeter broke the press. They were able to get at an advantage in terms of numbers and took advantage of it. Easier to score for them in the open court.
Pledger, a rare wide open miss. Stephen Pledger, one of the best shooters in the country. Their leading returning scorer in the Big 12 for that matter. Hannon, he gets double teamed, banging down low, and he's called for the trap.
See, Bohannon, John, is a face-up player. Now watch what happened. Oklahoma came out and pressured. They tried to trap. See, there's the 2 white jerseys, and that gives Streeter the open court opportunity. And although Oklahoma likes to press, it actually plays into UTEP's hands because they're having trouble scoring in the half court.
They get a foul inside. We'll see who that's on. It'll be on John Bohannon.
Well, he's picked up some quick ones.
For Bohannon, his second.
You know, Mike Eads made that call a tad late, and it's a good play by the officials. They've been told this year it's okay to be a tick late as long as you feel you've got the play right. So Mike Eads took a long look at that call, John, before he blew his whistle.
And by off the mark. Here at our Old Spice Classic, West Virginia all over Marist earlier today, setting up the semifinal matchup with Davidson, who beat Vanderbilt. Bob McKillop's got a really good team.
He does. Now, they've struggled a little bit. They had New Mexico on the ropes during that 24-hour marathon. They lost at Milwaukee, and talking to him the last couple of days, he said, my team, the expectations are so high this year that they haven't really embraced them yet. This might be his best team since the Steph Curry teams. See, Oklahoma is squandering some scoring opportunities, and they're allowing UTEP to stay in this ball game.
Tim Floyd calls timeout. Sooners by a dozen in this one. So break in the action with a timeout on the court. We'll take it with them. You're on. I would say that, yeah, most of the kids have played in here, haven't they?
A lot of guys, yeah.
Here at Lake Buena Vista, HP Fieldhouse, John Shambi, Fran Fraschilla on Thanksgiving as Chris Washburn puts it home, and UTEP within 10.
This is a danger zone for Oklahoma, John, because UTEP really should be down 20 points. Oklahoma has not put them away, and they're going to find themselves in a very dangerous situation if they don't start to put some points on the board.
Osby able to hit that one over Cedric Lang, and 14 for Romero Osby.
Tell you what, Streeter and Cooper have done a nice job of handling the ball versus this Oklahoma pressure, because they can really wear you out with the 4 or 5 guards they play.
Cooper putting it on the floor, able to hang and hit.
See, they're not running offense right now, but because Oklahoma's pressuring so far on the floor, they're opening up driving lanes. It's very similar to Oklahoma's game last Friday night against UTA, when they basically fell asleep with a 16-point lead and allowed UTA to tie that game late.
Lon Kruger's team led by as many as 16 in the first half. One thing the Sooners haven't done, they haven't been able to get Pledger involved. Right there, high percentage shot for Fitzgerald.
Tell you what they did, they tried to double Osby, and Fitzgerald went right to the rim. Osby picked it up, and they got an easy 2.
Washburn right at the rim. There's Pledger, and rattles that one home. You know, you talked about Steve Henson being such a good shooter, and I was teasing him before the game, the Sooners assistant coach. I said, can you still shoot it? And he said, yeah, a little bit. And then he said, but I'll tell you something, Steven Pledger is as good as it gets shooting a basketball. That's high compliment, because Henson was a brilliant shooter. Timeout on the court. The Sooners leading by 15. Oklahoma doing it outside, and Andrew Fitzgerald inside.
The Canadian national team development camp, which Steve Nash and head coach Jay Triano ran. Jay now assistant coach of the Portland Trailblazers. Got a lot to learn from Steve Nash, which he said he did.
He's Brady Heslip's uncle, right?
Jay Triano, sure is, yep. Jay was a great player, a great Canadian player at Simon Fraser, and then he was the guy that was assistant coach with Coach K on the USA Olympic teams. He was the guy that taught the USA coaches the international game as they prepared for the first gold medal in 2008.
Romero Osby having himself a good game. He's got 15 points. And the Sooners building their lead up to 16 with 15:41 to go. So a very young Clemson team led by Brad Brownell will go up against Mark Few's group, and they were powerful up front. We mentioned the backcourt. Will they get Kelly Olynyk back? Sam Gower, of course. Sooners by 17 here, largest lead of the game.
The mountain man from Poland, too, Przemek Karnowski, the 7'1", 300-pound youngster. Is off to a great start, leading the Zags in scoring.
Well, we showed Kevin Pangos, and they were able to find Karnowski because they were checking out Pangos.
That's right, the under-17 World Championships a couple of years ago. The big man in front of the TV monitor is Przemek Karnowski, and you're going to love him, John. Great hands, great feet, runs the floor, good touch inside. Now, if you're UTEP, where can you generate offense from?
Streeter puts it on the floor, then kicks out. Washburn losing it out of bounds, and it'll be Oklahoma basketball. You wonder, when they get Mackenzie Moore ready and eligible after transferring, second semester should be against UNLV, how much it'll help him.
Well, certainly help him in the backcourt. They're going to add Connor Tucker, also the graduate student who played his basketball at Sam Houston State. So they'll be better as the season goes on. But the program's in great shape as now they go back to that box and one on Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield's probably, I don't think he recognizes what defense is. The guy just is a scorer. Oh, that's not a good shot. Good defense by Bohannon.
Cousins will try again, and he gets that one. So a three-pointer. Miss and make. Why not? The freshman able to hit, and he's got 5. And for Oklahoma, the lead is up to 20. Hornbeak, that was way off the mark. And Lang pulls it down.
Right now, UTEP's best offense has been Streeter just breaking down Hornbeak and some of those Oklahoma guards. The Oklahoma's doing a lot of switching off those screens, so there's really no open places.
Washburn rattles in a pull-up.
Julian Washburn, he's got the look, John, doesn't he? Very athletic. You mentioned his defensive ability. He's got to improve that jump shot a little bit, but Tim Floyd compares him to DeMar DeRozan, a guy he coached at USC.
That last bucket by Washburn ending a 10-0 Sooner run. Ragland can't hit. One and done as the rebound pulled down there by Hornbeak. Fight for the loose ball. Streeter comes away with it. Ryan O'Connell saying that one will be taken out on the side. I thought for a second that Hield had lost his shoe.
Hornbeak's going to go out, but Oklahoma has just played that last few minutes with 3 freshman guards on the floor, and you can see Lon Kruger's not going to take too many chances. He's going to get some of those veterans back in. Hield will stay on, but some familiar faces, guys that we've seen the last year and a half.
Sam Grooms will check in. Cameron Clark as well. Feed inside, and they get Hield, the freshman, with the foul.
It's the first time Buddy Hield's family has seen him play. You haven't seen, you know, his mom came to his graduation in Wichita last spring, but a lot of his siblings have never seen him play in a basketball game in the States. So that's a nice move by Bohannon. He needs space, John. He's not a physical guy, but he's got a good first step.
Bohannon with 8.
Yeah, see, this is the kind of sloppiness that Oklahoma has experienced at times throughout this game.
On deflection, Grooms able to gather it in. Sooners by 16.
Triangling, boxing one, still on Hield. He's in that deep corner, just hanging out.
One flipped up and in by Mbah.
So it's like hockey. They're just playing 4-on-4 right now, Oklahoma. And Oklahoma doesn't have a team with one guy that can score, so I'm not sure how effective it's going to be.
Timeout, UTEP. So the Sooners leading this one by 18. All right, let me ask you about boxing one. Tim Floyd playing it some here, and with no disrespect towards Buddy Hield, more often than not.
Was nuts in Madison Square Garden with a triangle and 2 because there was no place for him to drive, John. So Tim Floyd's one of the masters of this. Triangle offense right now with the 3 bigs inside.
12 to go in this one. Streeter lightning quick to the rim.
Streeter's been their best offense tonight. Still in that box. In that deep corner. You see they're just face guarding Buddy Hield. He's pretty much on vacation right now. He might as well go over to Magic Kingdom for a while.
Ragland on Hield.
You see, it's thrown Oklahoma off a little bit.
Putback wouldn't go there. Yielded a shot at it. A little sloppy. Ragland able to get it to Washburn, and now we'll see what they do. Is inside, Lang got tied up with Andrew Fitzgerald. Quarterfinal action here in the Old Spice Classic, and the Sooners ahead by 16. UTEP winner. This one will play Gonzaga in the Gonzaga Clemson winner. That's the nightcap. And they get a bump there. I believe it'll be on, Ahmad Mbah. So Gonzaga Clemson coming up. Clemson, a very young team.
As is this UTEP team.
Pull up off the glass wouldn't go, and an offensive board. Nope, they're going to say a foul over the top And that one is going to be on Washburn.
You know, it's interesting. UTEP, that's his third foul. UTEP, we talked about how young they are. They're one of the 10 youngest teams in the country, but there's 4 other teams in Conference USA younger than them. Rice, Tulsa, SMU, and Central Florida all have younger teams. So that league is it's got a lot of babies in it.
Jump hook flipped up and in by Mbai. 8 for Amon Mbai. And that foul on Mbai.
See, and while I like the idea of pressuring, because that's Oklahoma's game, it actually is an advantage for UTEP right now because they're getting open court opportunities and chances to score. I don't know that I would double Streeter right now, slow the game down, and just play half-court defense. Lang's working inside, trying to get that 4th foul on Mbai.
Out of bounds, 2 on the shot clock. Tim Floyd's team, and they do like lower possessions, but
not this
not like
low.
this.
Carl Hess had 2 hands.
Buddy Hield that foul.
And that's a freshman mistake. That's their 7th foul, his 2nd. And with 2 seconds on the clock, John, you're giving
bailed out.
Yeah. But he's got to learn that's the college game.
7 fouls, so it's a 1-and-1 situation. And Julian Washburn started all but 1 last year, averaged just over 11 points a game. As he buries the first, he's got 6.
If you really think about it, right now, if you're UTEP, you can get back in this game on the foul line. And also if Oklahoma keeps pressing you, because they've really been ineffective scoring in the half court.
Gets them both. 16-point game. And right there, they get Lang. He was grabbing Fitzgerald's jersey. And that'll be number 4.
Cedric Lang not afraid to throw his body around. This is a young man, lightly recruited. I think he's going to come out now with the 4. But Boston College looked at him. Evansville took a visit down to El Paso, where they've got great weather, great food, great basketball tradition.
Shot blocked by Chris Washburn, but gathered in by Hield.
Now they got a new clock, so they need right now. Oklahoma needs to settle down. And that's exactly what Sam Grooms is doing. Now they're still in the box and 1, John. See, I think what you got to do is right there, screen at the top and create more disadvantages for the defense.
Clark can't hit. Rebound, Julian Washburn. Up ahead to his brother.
Every time UTEP has an opportunity to try to climb back in this game, they shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, 14th turnover.
They haven't carved into the lead much, but they've certainly made Oklahoma's half-court offense with the box and 1 very, very ugly. See, I would use more clock.
Fitzgerald inside, couldn't put it home.
And Oklahoma's not exploiting the entire possession, because if you're going to play 4-on-4, you're going to have openings.
Bohannon able to save it. Ragland back to Bohannon. That's a long turnover, number 15.
See, I'd use more clock. I think you can get the ball into the middle of that box and 1.
Washburn and Fitzgerald banging down low. And now they go at it. Fitzgerald inside, and he's fouled.
And Julian's telling his brother, just stay vertical. Andrew Fitzgerald's going to take that ball right to the young freshman. Now let's see if he stays vertical or not. His hands are going to come down. See, that left hand came down on Fitzgerald, makes it an easy call. His brother went over to him and said, hey, just put your hands straight up and make this guy score over you.
Had his hands up, but he jumped up into him. It's an interesting matchup. Two guys almost the exact same size, both listed at about 6'8", 240.
I remember a couple of years ago when Andrew Fitzgerald came to Oklahoma from Brewster Academy. He was much thicker, a lot more baby fat.
Yeah, he's probably 30 pounds lighter.
Yep. Always had that good mid-range touch. And I say that as a compliment when he's a below-the-rim guy, because everything is angles, everything is up and under. He's crafty. He's going to get fouled. He'll make his free throws. He's been a solid player for Oklahoma, brought here by Jeff Capel. Now an assistant coach to Mike Krzyzewski at Duke.
Fitzgerald and Pledger, great friends, both seniors.
Andrew Fitzgerald played with Thomas Robinson at Brewster Academy. Melvin Edgem. Look at this. See, this is why I don't like pressing a team when you have this kind of lead, because they cannot score in the half court.
Easy bucket there for Chris Washburn, who has 8. Sooners trying to punch their ticket for the semifinals of the Old Spice Classic. Neal can't hit.
Now it's a triangle and 2 and another run out, John.
Bohannon steps through. Bank shot wouldn't go, and it'll stay with UTEP.
So despite this 16-point lead, Tim Floyd has really junked up Oklahoma's offense.
They get Grooms with the foul, his second. Team foul number 8 on Oklahoma, so a 1-and-1 situation. UTEP with 17 fouls.
How did I mention that UTEP could get back in this game? Foul line and breaking that pressure. When was the last time they scored in a half-court set?
It's been tough for them, no questions. Washburn gets the front end. And none of this, I would say, is a surprise to Tim Floyd. He knows his team is going to try and keep the pace a little slower during the season, rely on their defense, and they'll have to score just enough.
Well, he's a master at that. He'll shorten the game when he has to. Now a little bit of full court pressure. And now they're back in a triangle and 2.
Tamon Howard guarding Pledger in the corner.
So they're going to get a jump shot anytime they want, but is that what you want to give up? And I would use this clock now. No reason to shoot this ball quickly. I'm just telling you, Scott. I'm just telling you. You're playing right into UTEP's hands. This game's not over.
Under 8 timeout here at the Old Spice Classic, and the Sooners ahead.
These guys, they run great programs. They do their thing the right way. Well, this young man has it not. He's been quiet tonight, John, but he's going to be a very good scorer for Oklahoma. He'll be one of the better freshmen in the Big 12 this year, of which there are some outstanding freshmen. I like the little guard from Texas Tech nobody's talking about, Jonathan Gray, who committed to and signed with Mississippi State. Chris Walker's got a gem there. Of course, Marcus Smart and Phil Forte. Kansas has got those outstanding freshmen, Perry Ellis and McLemore.
Forte and Smart actually played together in high school.
They sure did. Flourmouth Marcus and Dallas won 2 state championships.
I guess what, Forte was the MVP of the Final Four. This past one, not Marcus Smart. Under 10 on the shot clock. Cooper going to work. Gets a piece of the paint. Kicks out. Washburn.
Good basketball right there. Dribble penetration has been good to UTEP much of this night. Now if you're Oklahoma now, how do you handle these double teams?
Chris Washburn collects, kicks up ahead. Cooper a little too far for him.
Well, this is exactly the formula Tim Floyd needs right here. Yep. Oklahoma is shooting the ball quickly in the half court. UTEP in transition and on the foul line is getting a chance to score fairly easily.
Neal right at the rim and lays it in. Back to 13 now.
I think if you're Oklahoma right now, contain the dribble, contest shots, finish the possession with a rebound.
Washburn pulling his way to the rim. Well, how about the other end? Tyler Neal coming off the bench and aggressive to the hoop.
Yep, they attack again. They attack the pressure, much like UTEP did early second half and in the first half. Tyler Neal is a spark plug off the bench, young man from Oklahoma City.
Chris Washburn and his brother Julian together here at UTEP.
And Chris played at South Grand Prairie last year, led that team to a terrific season.
Their dad, a former star at NC State, top 5 pick in the NBA draft. Neal pulls down the miss.
Right now, if you're Oklahoma, if you don't have anything in transition, I'd feel more comfortable just using some clock right now. UTEP continues to stay in that triangle and 2. Now the question is, which of the 3 players in this triangle can make a play?
And they get a steal. Kick up ahead. Howard. Wouldn't go, but he'll shoot 2.
I'm going to tell you, John, I have seen this before. This is a perfect recipe for Tim Floyd to get back in this ball game. This is why they've stayed in the junk defense as much of the second half.
Third foul on Cousins, double bonus the rest of the way for UTEP.
Oklahoma's been very impatient attacking that triangle. They basically are playing 3-on-3, and I said it earlier. The only way UTEP is scoring is at the foul line and in transition off the pressure. I think this is great for UTEP right here. Don't forget, you got 2 freshman guards out there for Oklahoma.
Cousins and Hield, the 2 freshmen on the court right now. This is Cousins.
See, right now, UTEP's just switching all those cuts to the basket. They're shading each cut.
Oh, out of nowhere, Chris Washburn, the rejection. They can get it under 10 with a basket. Oh, in close. Moore had an opportunity, and the rebound ripped down by Pledger, and then a foul. I said Moore. Tamon Howard. Look at this block.
Ooh, how about the big fella, huh? Shades of his dad a little bit. And the miss at the other end.
And if Howard makes that,
actually,
cut it to 8.
Yeah.
So that last foul on Bohannon, his 4th. Lang has 4 as well. Pledger, leading returning scorer in the Big 12, 16 a game last season. He shot 42% from 3 last year.
He hit a big shot against UTA that put Oklahoma up for good late in that ball game.
His path to Oklahoma interesting. It actually started when Jeff Capel was recruiting him at VCU.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah,
it seems that way.
Jeff Capel turning it over to Shaka Smart.
Here comes an ISO if they can get that ball into the post.
And a turnover.
They were trying to get the ball to Bohannon and then spread the floor and let him drive, but they weren't able to get it.
Actually, no. Jeff Capel turned it over to Anthony Grant, right? And
That's
then
right.
Shaka
Yep.
Smart. Yep.
They built on each other's programs, if you think about it. See, right now, you have plenty of time on the clock. You're going to get a good shot if you just take care of the basketball.
Good hustle by Washburn. Cousins eventually comes up with it.
They don't have a new clock. You got to recognize it.
See if they realize. Now Cousins does. Osby. Bohannon eventually the board. The lead is a dozen for Oklahoma. Washburn 1-on-3. Gathers it in. Point blank misses. Well, now a foul underneath. I tell you, it's amazing as much as Oklahoma at times has helped UTEP. They've had a couple of point-blank opportunities to really put some pressure on the Sooners.
I don't know how much Tim Floyd's going to watch this film because they got to move on quickly tomorrow night to whoever they play. But when they do break down this tape, they're going to see a lot of opportunities to have climb back in this game. And just couldn't, as you mentioned, finish at the rim, turn it over at an inopportune time. But they have certainly made Oklahoma play left-handed in the second half with those junk defenses.
That last foul on Julian Washburn, he has 4.
I'm going to tell you, UTEP has one more spurt in them, John. Especially if Oklahoma is going to shoot quickly and not attack that triangle in 2.
Julian Washburn sits. Malcolm Moore will check in. And Bohannon will grab a seat as well. So again, coming up the under 4 timeout, the guess would be they won't stay on the bench very long. Neal can't hit. Sooners shot over 55% or over 50% in the first half. Hasn't been as good in the second half. Washburn will shoot 2. And right there, our under 4 timeout. The Miners hanging around here in Lake Buena Vista. Washburn, a left-hander. Tim Floyd talking about he's got to get his conditioning in a little better place. He can only go in those 3-4 minute bursts. Right there he hits, and he and his brother Julian, the only 2 Miners in double figures. Chris with 10 now.
Now, if UTEP can set this press up, John, you're going to see some double teams, and they may not be able to get to it, but you got 2 freshman guards on the floor for Lon Kruger, and a good opportunity for these guys to continue to get game experience. Again, triangle and 2, so they're going to go 3-man motion in the lane. Take a look. UTEP's done a good job. Oh, little set play.
Fitzgerald couldn't hit. Rebound Ragland, and a chance to get it to single digits. Streeter got it. 3-pointer.
This is exactly what we talked about. Now, because they scored, they can set up the pressure. Now, if you're Oklahoma, do you attack 4-on-3?
Pledger can't answer, and Washburn is fouled by Osby. So the Miners within single digits. Last time was with 3 minutes left in the first half, and a chance to add to the lead.
John, the only time UTEP has scored in the second half for the most part, transition and on the foul line. They've done a great job of making the game ugly on the defensive end for Oklahoma, and then they've gotten an opportunity to take advantage of these situations, and now they have a chance to climb the 7. This is exactly what we talked about at the beginning of the second half.
Yeah, a chance to chip away at that deficit, and Washburn rattles it home. That 3, only the 4th of the game for UTEP. They've only taken 10.
And they're going to stay in that triangle in 2. I've seen Tim Floyd do this so many times. He did this at Kansas one year. He put the triangle on Brandon Rush. When he was at USC, didn't have much talent. He did this to Memphis with Derrick Rose. There's a steal.
Washburn steals it inside to his brother, who's rejected. Big swat by Osby.
See, Oklahoma has played this second half like they were down 10 points instead of up 10 or 12. Triangle and 2.
Osby from Hornbeak spinning. Chris Washburn the board, and now Streeter. The Miners within 6.
This is vintage Tim Floyd coaching right here.
Timeout, Tim Floyd. UTEP on a 14-4 run. Amazing stuff. Sooners led by as many as 20. And the
is try to isolate Bohannon or Washburn somewhere where they can get a drive on a big guy. Let's see. They go right to the high post. There it is.
Washburn spinning. Oh, came close, couldn't hit.
That's exactly what they wanted to get. They just didn't get the ball to go.
9 rebounds for Osby.
Now it's still triangle.
Fitzgerald here. Fighting for the rebound, out of bounds. UTEP basketball. Under 2 to go in this one, and the Sooners lead it by 6. Now, offensively, are you even trying to get it to the guys that are guarded?
No, they haven't. They have not. They've elected to play 3-on-3 basketball, and it's not so much that the guys guarded are the big threats. And there's another foul by a freshman, Yield. And so what did we say, John? UTEP is scoring at the foul line in transition, both.
Cooper will go to the line and shoot 2 because it's double bonus for both teams. Foul on Hield, his 3rd.
Hield is trying to explain his case, but he's saying that Cooper flopped, but there's just too much contact there.
And Carl Hess explaining the call.
I tell you, the next possession for Oklahoma is going to be the biggest possession of this game, because if they don't score, they're going to put UTEP right back into an opportunity to cut into this lead and potentially win this ball game.
8-0 run. It's a 4-point game as Cooper gets them both. Osby into the front court. What do you want to see them do offensively?
Boy, there's got to be a way you move the ball versus that they're still in the triangle. So let's see if they go ball screen. I would go double high ball screen here and try to go either way. What they're going to wind up getting is a jump shot. That's a kick ball, and that'll be a reset to 14. See, Lon Kruger's got 4 timeouts in his hip pocket right now.
1:16 to go, and Lon Kruger calls shot clock resets to 15. And it's Hornbeak, the freshman from Arlington, Texas, to handle.
Man-to-man. First time in a while.
Pledger. Big three-pointer from
Wow.
Stephen Pledger.
He did that Friday night in Arlington, Texas. The senior. He was guarded. There's a foul on Pledger they didn't call.
Streeter inside. Bohannon in close, couldn't hit. Huge miss. Osby another rebound.
Right now, if you're Oklahoma, spread the floor. You do not have to shoot this ball. I wouldn't even look to attack until you get it to 10. You got 2 freshman guards out there.
So Oklahoma will hang on, it looks like, and win this one as they get the foul on Bohannon. He is done.
You know what you love about Lon Kruger? As this game got tighter and tighter, he basically stayed with at least 2 of his 3 freshman guards the entire second half, and he's allowing them, John, to grow up. The only way you get experience going into Big 12 play is to put these guys in this situation. They're not going to see triangle and 2 very much the rest of the season, because this is Tim Floyd's specialty.
Bohannon is finished with 5 fouls, and now for tonight's player of the game, brought to you by Old Spice. Romero Osby, the double-double. 16, 10, and 4 for the former Mississippi State transfer. for Pledger. Stephen Pledger very quiet when they played those extra different defenses, the box and one, triangle and two, with Pledger on the court. He was always one of the guys guarded.
Well, you know he's not tired because he was standing in the corner much of the second half.
You go stand in the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
He gets 1 out of 2. It's an 8-point game.
UTEP's going to push it quickly. Streeter's likely to attack. If you're Oklahoma, no fouls.
Feed inside. Moore lost the handle, now gathers it in, and he's fouled with 2.4 to go.
Interesting game.
Your thoughts on fouling that late?
Well, it's just, it's a habit, really. In an ideal situation, you let the guy score, you take it out of bounds, and
that's that.
Yeah. But again, you're playing. You got some veterans out there. No excuses for some of those older guys, but 2 freshman guards. This is a great learning opportunity.
UTEP showed a lot of fight, but the Sooners win and advance to the semifinals here at the Old Spice Classic. Lon Kruger's group wins it 68-61. The final. Romero Osby, the double-double. Up next, more from the Old Spice Classic.